I'm working for KEMRI-Wellcome Trust Research Programme, which is on the Kenyan coast in Kilifi. And I've been in an engagement conversation for quite a number of years with Vela and quite a number of you that we've been interacting with in engagement. And so what I'll focus on here is the evaluation of what we are doing in the KEMRI-Wellcome Trust Research Programme. And because the conversation is more of evaluation, I might not talk about the engagement itself a lot. I'll just hint at what we do in terms of engagement so that you get an understanding of what is it we are trying to evaluate. It's not that we've got the evaluation perfect. We are actually struggling with it. And I think part of these workshops is to share where you are and get inputs from people on how you can move forward. Okay. All of us who are involved in community engagement, we know there's been increasing calls for evaluation. Jim Lavery, with your work, I'm so excited to have you here and in the next 2 days, because you're one of those people who have been in the forefront saying it's not enough to engage. We need to figure out whether we are making changes. What impact is engagement having, not only on understanding and knowledge, but also on relationships, what Robin has introduced. And I think this paper by Newman, he quoted very clearly that it seems curious that we invest millions of dollars in product development, clinical training, design and building of facilities, but often leave vital processes of community, and you can say public engagement, largely to trial and error. And I think that grounds why evaluation is so important. Of course, anytime we talk about evaluation of engagement, we also have to talk about the complexities of even the engagement of itself. Over the last 2 days, we've heard about you need to be clear who is your community, who is your public, what kind of engagement you're aiming for. Robin has re-emphasized that. And also, what depth of engagement are you aiming for? Is it information giving? Is it consultation? Are you keen to get community views into your work? And how do you go about it? Only when you are clear about that can you really say you can then think about how you'll evaluate. If all that is unclear, it's very difficult to plan your evaluation. And I just wanted to put that out there to say that is, if we are not clear about those terms, we can evaluate, but we are not very sure what you'll be evaluating and how you'll be evaluating. But also to recognize, oftentimes, engagement is quite pragmatic. You just go to a place, you realize people need to understand me, I've not planned very well, I just go and give information, I provide information, and that is engagement. I'm not saying that is wrong. Oftentimes, that's how engagement starts. But at some point, you've got to put a step and say, okay, let's be clear on what is it we are trying to do. The KEMRI-Wellcome Trust Research Programme has been on the Kilifi coast for the last 27 years now. So it's a large, long-term institution. And therefore, for us, engagement is not just about information giving, but creating real relationships with the people that we work with. So it's moving to the next level of what is engagement. We have linked systems that make sure that, and especially in Kilifi, any person who is coming from the orange painted area, that is what we call our Kilifi Health Demographic Surveillance System of around 280,000 people, relatively stable, poor community in a rural area in Kenya. And they often come to the Kilifi hospital. That's where they normally seek health services. And what we've done is provided platforms for clinical services and clinical care. So anyone who is coming from the DSS area is linked with the clinical care. And it is very easy then for research to kind of figure out what are the main health problems in this area and how can research therefore be conducted. That has primarily, for the last 10 years or so, been our primary community when we are thinking of community engagement. In the next years, we are expanding beyond Kilifi. We now have research happening regionally, nationally, in different parts in Kenya and in Nairobi quite centrally, but also moving to Uganda. And therefore, our engagement is also considering this context and how we might engage populations about health and science. We have these 3 main goals of our engagement. They are program level, what we are aiming to do or to reach. And we have built mutual understanding and appropriate levels of trust and respect, appropriate relationships with the communities or publics, enhance ethical conduct of our research and of the program's activities, and strengthen the translation of research finding into policy. Now, these are evolving goals. If you ask me what the goals were 10 years ago, they were quite different from what we have. And for us, that has been real growth to know that we can go back and say, actually, is this still our goals or should this be changing? In order to do that, we put interactivity of the program, of the researchers and the community very central to all our engagement. In fact, we called it shifting the center, shifting the program so that you don't become your program and there's a community, but you become part of the community. And our activities range of, we have a conceptual framework. This was our initial conceptual framework. And Robin will tell me whether this is a theory of change. It's just how we saw things are going to map out over time. And we needed to recognize we are working in a broader context. We need to recognize a context in which we are doing engagement, and that there are different institutions in that context, different types of studies. People understand different things based on the context that you are in. And we needed to be clear about who are our communities that we'll be engaging with, and also what kind of activities will we be doing. And at the center of all our engagement was interaction, creating platforms and forums for researchers, research institutions, and the communities and the publics to interact, to dialogue. We felt that is one way of starting to have another level of relationship. And of course, this was supposed to be contributing to knowledge, understanding of our work, but also us understanding the community concerns and interests. So that's what we thought it will be. And these are the range of activities that we've been doing over the years, right, with community members, going out to where communities are and holding outreaches, to researchers going out, to bringing the community to the center and showing the community what is research and what does the program do. And of course, a key element, our frontline staff, training them, but also how they interact with the community. And through these processes, we think our engagement depths vary. We have a whole multiple, right, from awareness creation, seeking support, actively seeking opinions about our work, feeding and responding to issues that are coming from the community. Hopefully, we think we are aiming towards partnership, but we're not very sure whether we are there or whether we'll ever get there. That's a big question mark for us. How do we therefore, I was supposed to have a video, just to capture some of the views of the community.
Kwa mara ya kwanza watu wa KEMRI walikuwa wanachukuliwa kama watu wa wale devil worshippers, kwa vile walikuwa wakiona mgonjwa wanachukua damu kutoka kisigino, lakini hivi sasa wamefika kiwango cha kwamba kwa uhakika KEMRI kazi yake ni kufanya utafiti ili kupata madawa kwa magonjwa yajayo.
Nilipata tu grupu imekaa na hizo, wajua hii mazungumzo huwa inatokea tu ghafla hivi hizi magari zenu zikipita. Sasa hapo ndio mazungumzo ya KEMRI yanapoanzia. Hata hivi in the localest man or woman. Utasikia yale magari. Hata ukiwa unaanguka njiani hawezi kukusaidia. Sijui yale magari ndani huwa yamebeba nini. Lakini wale wote ambao wana hizo complaints ni watu hawajafahamu ni kwa nini.
Ni uhakika. Ni uhakika vile ambavyo utakuwa umezungumza, uhakikishe kwamba umetimiza hivyo.
Wanavijiji wengi wana madukuduku kuhusu KEMRI. Lakini kitu ambacho kilifanya mpaka sasa, ama kitu ambacho kinaweza fanya mpaka ukaaminiwa ni labda uende na mwenyeji pale. Na hiyo nafikiri KEMRI, nafikiri watu walikaa na wakafikiria, ndio unaona wafanyikazi wengi ni wa within the community.
Mgeni akija kwangu kunifanya mimi ni muamini au simwamini, kwanza inategemea vile alivyokuja, ile tabia ambayo amekuja nayo. Alikuwa amekuja na tabia ya heshima na kujiheshimu, nitajua huyu mtu kweli anataka usaidizi, na pia kumwamini nitamwamini.
Inategemea approach na vile mtu anajipresent pale amefika. Na ukifika hapo ni kwamba sasa siku hizi tunashukuru tunao wazee wa mtaa wameaminiwa. Na sheria zao kwamba usilale na mtu ambaye ni mgeni bila kumwamrifu mzee wa mtaa, na ajulikane amekuja hapo kwa sababu gani na atakaa kwa muda gani, ataondoka lini. Na kama inawezekana hizo vitambulisho vyake vichukuliwe vikae kule kwa mzee wa mtaa.
Yale matendo yenu ambayo mnayatenda na ambayo yalitendwa tangu hapo mwanzo ndio yako ndani ya akili ya watu, kwamba watu wa KEMRI si watu wabaya.
Ni kwamba watu wa KEMRI wanatii kulingana na vile wamefundishwa. Kwa sababu ukikaa na huyu anaweza kukuelezea prosesi yote ambayo itatendeka kule chini, ama prosesi yote itatendeka kwa watu watakaotoka nje. Na ukipatana na huyu anakuelezea hivyo hivyo, na ukikutana nao katika kazi unawapata hivyo hivyo, yani hawabadiliki.
Tulikuwa tunatumia a certain drug, ikifika mahali fulani tunaona kwamba hiyo labda nguvu zake zimeisha ama haitaweza kufanya kazi vizuri, ni kwamba tumeweza kukeep standards za tiba ambazo saa hii zinatusaidia zaidi kuliko wakati wa nyuma.
Ukiwa umevunja uaminifu, ni umwombe msamaha yule umevunja uaminifu, alafu basi uanze tena vile ulivyokuwa nimekosea wakati huo, lakini saa hii I'm sorry, naanza hapa tena, tuendelee hivi. Kama imetolewa kwa nia nzuri, maana kuna ile sorry ya kwamba unaambia sorry tu ya hapa mdomoni, lakini katika roho kumbe unasema mimi nampiga brush tu hapa juu. Lakini tuonekane kweli wewe umeona makosa yako, na kwa sababu you are so sincerely kwamba nilikukosea, tunafanya hivi, tuendelee kwa roho nzuri, basi tunaendelea.
Mimi la kuongezea ni kwamba kutenda kosa si kosa, kurudia kosa ndio kosa. Yes.
Kuongezea kwangu ni kwamba kuna wakati wengine walikuwa wakifika kule hawana heshima, wanajiingilia tu bomani kwa mtu, kusalimia hata jieleza. Hata wengine walikuwa wakifukuzwa. Walikuwa hawafukuzwi kwa sababu ya KEMRI, vile walikuwa wakisema ni madevu, lakini walikuwa wakifukuzwa kwa sababu wengine walikuwa hawana heshima.
Vile ukija tayari kwa boma, vile unasalimia watu kwa unyenyekevu. Hamujambo, mumeamukaje? Najua watu wengi pale wanakuja ni watu wa huku Kilifi, wanajua lugha ya Kimijikenda. Na unajua lugha ya Kimijikenda, unaenda boma la watu enyemo, haya mzilamukaze kuno, hedu musindaze, haya kamuna ututo, habe mimi ni mtu fulani, ni hatu shirika la KEMRI, nkuza kwenda la rero, nkuza mimi mwana wenu, mimi nzikuza, unamala ugombe vichache kwa heshima. Kisha akale uzi bwala toto tosumu anja bagasuruade kukutsini, alafu unaenda ndambata mkora hiyo.
And special thanks to Alan and Tim, because they're the ones who produced that video. I have no video production skills whatsoever. So why do we evaluate? And the evaluation I'm going to talk about is program-wide rather than engagement activity specific. And our reason for evaluating are several. One is to find out whether engagement is still contributing towards achieving the goals. Second, to see what is changing in our engagement. How is the context changing, and how do we take account of the changing climate, social context in our engagement? And in changing is also to check how our relationships with the community are changing, and whether we need to do anything differently. And of course, part of the reason why we evaluate is to see how those then findings can feed into our subsequent planning activities of engagement. We have, for program-wide engagement, we have quite detailed evaluation processes, right from household surveys that are done periodically to the same households, case studies that are looking descriptively at how engagement is happening within a specific research activity. We have periodic group reflection of the people who are doing the community engagement, the community liaison group that is headed by Noni, and social scientists who are also studying about engagement as well as other activities. And of course, observations from the activities of engagement that go on. And this is briefly how our engagement activities have been evolving over the years. And this is the periods at which we repeat household surveys, and this is planned over time. But also all through, we are documenting what is happening with engagement descriptively, and also having reflection and specific case studies. I'll give you very few results of some of the findings of the household survey and some of the qualitative work. So looking at the household survey has got over 40 questions, and one of the key questions is whether community understands that KEMRI's main role is health research. And that means several things: that they define health research, what it is, and show that they understand it is different from treatment. And secondly, they identify that that is actually the main role of KEMRI. And of course, this is thought very systematically by researchers, as you can hear how I've phrased the question. Now, we did this survey in 2005 and 2010. These are the comparisons. I've not put the p-value factors for now, but I just want to draw your attention to the red colors, which were the responses that showed some understanding of health research, that is learning, and also some experience. That research is about experiences, also expressing experiences, and also research was seen about developing vaccines and drugs. So people who mentioned those then would classify that as research. We had a very detailed coding scheme, which I'll not go into. Another area that we're looking at is whether people are tired with the program being in that community. And one thing we're looking at, are they supportive of KEMRI's work? And what you see from this is generally they are either supportive and very supportive, almost 80% both times. And what you see decreasing is also unsupportive, just to show you that. Very interesting if you map that against understanding, because they are really supportive, but there's very low understanding of what you do. Okay, so that is some of the quantitative data. Qualitative, we've had studies all from our work. We've been defining some of the concepts and getting clarity on how these concepts apply in our context. Some of our work has looked at specific areas that are really complex and how engagement is happening with them, specifically with men who have sex with men. You know, homosexuality is a taboo topic. So learning how those research engage communities, and also seeking opinions from the public on data sharing, on benefit sharing. How are the communities thinking about those, and how should the policies then address the community views? We have also looked at specific or evaluated specific engagement activities. For us, the community KEMRI community representative is a real, is one of the bodies that we engage with, and we've been documenting about how they function. So some of the lessons from our evaluation work is we think using mixed methods in evaluating community engagement is a strength. You can use them complementarily. The quantitative data will give you a breadth, how spread out an issue is. It won't give you the details or the narratives about that data, about that figure. We think the qualitative data helps to add the depth, the meat to the data, to the figure, or to the data. So it provides both breadth and depth, but also we are able to include multiple perspectives of how engagement is working, both from researchers, from participants, from the people themselves implementing engagement. We are very clear in our evaluation that we are not aiming for causality. We are not saying because of engagement things change from one to B. We will not get that, but we want to look at whether we can build a case or arguments for plausibility, that it is plausible that things changed because we did 1, 2, 3. We've had ongoing inputs from what we call critical friends, and that has been very useful in us reviewing our engagement and our target and also our goals, and it brings coherence into our work. Now, as a final slide, I think, and I'm re-emphasizing what Robin said, is that if we're thinking about evaluation, we need to consider several things. We need to be clear about what is our engagement about, and therefore, why do we need to evaluate it? What kind of information do we need? How will we get those information? How will we analyze that data? How will we put this data together to give us a story of what is happening? What methodologies are appropriate for us to evaluate? How do those methodologies match up with engagement work that is going on? Whose perspective are we considering? From a researcher's perspective, from participants' perspective, from funders' perspective. You need to be very clear what your evaluation perspective is going to focus on. Do we need informed consent to do evaluation? How do we get ethical approval so that we can do this work? I think if you want to publish, you can't run away from ethical approval. And you need to be aware of your own positions and influences. I'm a real advocate for engagement, and oftentimes when I sit with people, I might have my very strong views, but they help me to look at them critically and where they come from. So I think having critical friends is really very important. Thank you very much.